Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Falato, and we're coming to you live after a Giants loss in week 15 now to drop to 2-13 for the Giants. Are they 2-12? And I just overshot that. I think I might have overshot that. I think they are 2-12, right? I don't even know at this point.
Yeah, they are 2-12.
12. Okay, so I overshot it over there, as you can see. Tried updating the scoreboard, and it went wrong. But yeah, definitely one of the lowest point, easily the lowest point of the season, I think, just to basically get blown out. I mean, they're kind of in it at the end, but basically blown out at home against a shit Washington Commanders team with their backup quarterback. It's almost as bad as it gets for this team. It's weird because they showed fight earlier in this year, Nick, and never really lost this bad to any bad teams, really. We're in it against the Bears. Bears are a really good team. Really would have won that game without the dark concussion. Obviously had a lot of other games where they fought, but it just seems like it's over now for this team this year. I don't think they're competing hard on defense, though they made some big plays. Abdul Carter had his best game of the season. Where would you like to start for this shit fest?
Yeah, that's a good way, an apt way to describe it, Dan. I mean, this is a team that now, eighth straight loss. And the Washington Commanders, Dan's back there fixing his fridge update right now. Absolutely love that. But this is the eighth straight loss for the New York Giants. The Commanders were on an 8-game losing streak going into this, and the Giants just were like, you know what? We'll assume that burden. Yes, please. No, Commanders, don't give it back to us in the fourth quarter. Oh, you want to fumble it once? No. You want to fumble it twice? Okay. We don't want it. Don't worry about it. You can have it, and we want to retain the first overall pick. Only it's not about that. Obviously, it's the Giants just are seems like a cursed franchise who just cannot get out of their own way. It is beyond comical. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, Dan, but it's beyond comical that this kicking situation continues to dig itself deeper and deeper into the despair of just this disgusting ineptitude, right? Like it's like, it can't get any more embarrassing than this, right? Nope, it's going to. And not just because Younghoe Koo cannot kick 2 50-plus yard field goals in slightly uncomfortable condition. It's just even the fact that Kafka's trying to do that in that situation, that lack of aggressiveness in a 4th and 5, 4th and 6 situation, especially when they're down big, is a blight on Kafka, a coach who during his first 2 games was a little bit more aggressive, and we welcome that type of approach. But this is this whole thing, Dan, this whole thing is just embarrassing. The Giants cannot end this season any quicker at this point. And I think if we had to take one thing away from this, though, Dan, like one 30,000-foot view thing away, it's that I don't think Joe Schoen is back after a loss like this. I think the Giants will clean house, other than, again, people who share the DNA with ownership.
I think you're right. I think this will probably be the moment that seals the deal for Joe Schoen. Now, who knows what situation they're in right now, the Giants currently, with John Mara very sick. They may not be in a position to put together a full coaching search. That remains to be seen. I'm sorry, a full general manager search. Sorry, I was looking at a couple hater comments. Don't hate on Nick live tweeting during the game. Okay, VG take.
Oh, dude, it's fine.
You put the phone away, VG. You put the phone away. Just kidding. But this is it. Like, there's no way to bring Joe Schoen back when you're not competitive at the end of the year. Now, we speculated, Nick, that if the Giants were able to win 3 of these games down the stretch, Schoen had a chance to come back. Not because we liked the idea of Schoen coming back, but because that's how they operate as a franchise, the Giants. That's what we've known. That's what we've come to know. We know it doesn't take much, right? John Mara just needs a very little bar to raise a very little bar. Even with Joe Judge, when he had that shit end to the 2021 season where they beat up on Brandon Allen and horrific backup quarterbacks, it was move that momentum for the next season, never carried over. And so at least now we don't have to go through that, is my opinion. It's still possible they can bring back Joe Schoen. I just find it very, very unlikely because they know now the fan backlash would be super, super hard. And this is a team that does operate in some ways on fan backlash. At least in my lifetime, I feel like when they've got, since this 10-year stretch of them being a horrible team, they've really caved to a lot of fan pressure in a lot of different ways. So I think Joe Schoen, his fate is sealed. He sounded like he knew it anyway during the bye week presser, Nick. But this is like, you got to at least come back and be competitive in this game. So that's the first and most important takeaway. I would say this overall, like, I'm not going to lie to the viewers because I've made this clear in the past. I'll just be honest. I'm happy they lost this game today instead of won. I'll just be honest. I didn't root against them. I rooted for them to win. I was rooting for them to, not to an extent. I mean, I'll be honest, to an extent. There is always an extent to it. I rooted for them to win because I did want to see Jackson Dart lead a comeback drive. If it was Jackson Dart leads a comeback drive, throws his third touchdown, and they get the 2-point conversion on a great play by him, and then Washington kicks the field goal, I probably would have been happier. Because to me, this game is worthless. Winning this game is absolutely worthless to me. But it is worth something to lose this game. The Giants drive a really nice divot into their battle with the Commanders. If the Giants had won this game, both they and the Commanders would be at 3 wins, and the Commanders would have jumped them because of strength of schedule. Now the Giants have a 2-game, separation against the Commanders. It's almost very likely that they're going to be picking in front of the Commanders versus the opposite, with the Raiders coming up, who I still think the Giants will beat somehow. It's a team, probably the 2 worst teams in the NFL, though, at this point. But it was disappointing to see Dart not be able to lead that comeback drive. I'll say that, Nick.
It was absolutely disappointing. The offense had their opportunities. Look, they had the one Wandale touchdown in the fourth quarter when they were mounting a comeback. If we want to talk about some of the positives from this game, and look, Tyrone Tracy Jr., 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, looked like he was the wide receiver that he was back at Iowa. Yeah. And Abdul Carter, obviously. Abdul Carter absolutely had, I think you could say this is his true breakout type of game. Sack fumbles, stripping the ball away from McNichols on the one play as well. And then he opened the game with a tackle for a loss where he played it phenomenally against Laramie Tunsil. So you're talking about him making plays in a variety of different ways after all the scrutiny that he has faced from missing meetings and being disciplined by the New York Giants. So,
right.
And Charlie Bolin said he had one of the best weeks of practice, all that coaching talk, right? And I do wonder, though, I do wonder how much of this is because of internet trolling and a fake report about why Abdul Carter was disciplined that first time, because that seemed to motivate him a lot.
Yeah. It does seem like he is playing with a different level of motivation, at least practicing with a different level. I don't really care what it took, Nick. I'm just happy it's here, and I hope he can continue it. And that's what Dexter Lawrence said after the game. He basically said, this is not how you prove yourself in Dexter Lawrence's mind. He said, you have to stack these weeks. And I think it was a really interesting comment by Lawrence. He was essentially not giving him the win yet, Carter, despite his dominant performance and his dominant week of practice, because it's not just about doing it once. It's about stacking it over and over. That's what being a professional is. That's how you get to the level that Dexter Lawrence rose to at the NFL level. I mean, he was the 17th overall pick, and until this season, he was one of, if not the most dominant players in the league. Maybe this year you can argue he's not, but that's okay. He's having a down year. If Carter wants to be that player, and he certainly has the potential to be that player, Nick, as we saw in today's game, what was it? 6 tackles, 3 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles, basically. I think one was the sack that they got back, and just the overall dominant performance by him. Well, he's going to have to stack these days in practice and then obviously in the games.
Yeah, I want to get to something from our chat in Chat BCC. Everybody go check that out right now. So this could be a little segment that we do. We field some questions in Chat BCC, and we'll obviously field some questions here on the YouTube as well. But there's a lot of discussion about Darius Slayton being that number 2 when Malik Neighbors is healthy in Chat BCC. And I wanted to get your opinion, Dan. It's just when you receive this level of play from a player like Darius Slayton, where he has those important drops, they weren't perfect throws by Jackson Dart, but those are, when you are rewarded with a contract, you hope a veteran receiver like Darius Slayton comes down with the football. So I wanted to ask you, how imperative is it heading into the offseason, just to look forward a little bit, that the Giants look to really upgrade that wide receiver 2 position once Malik Neighbors is back and healthy? Thank you again, Chat BCC.
Yeah, thank you, Chat BCC. Like I said, there will be a segment moving forward where you can get your questions in. Obviously, for those who have joined us for a while, if you want your question answered, send a super chat. But we'll also be doing this Chat BCC segment. So join us there on Chat BCC. The directions for joining will be easy. Now, as far as that goes, sorry, rephrase the question, Nick.
Yeah, it's just about upgrading the wide receiver 2 spot once we get into the offseason. Either, probably not through free agency, but I got to imagine in the draft if the Giants opt to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that's possible, I'll say. I still believe the way to win is through the offensive line. But with that said, they're going to be in position in this draft, assuming they don't have the first overall pick. And I don't think the Giants will have it. I think they will beat the Raiders. And I'll just say it, unfortunately for us, I'll just be honest about the situation. I do not want them to win that game. I won't root against them, but I don't want them to win that game. I want the first overall pick for sure to trade down. With that said, where they're picking will probably be in that 3 to 5 range. The best player on the board might be a receiver, Nick, and that's just what it comes down to. Or the best player might be an edge, and they're not going to take an edge. I know they always say, you draft whatever best player available. They won't go edge again. So we can rule out all the edges, I think, in that first round. I don't think there's a corner in this class that I would consider taking at that pick. There's a safety that some would consider. I don't think you can really do that either if you're the Giants, because you're financially tied to these mistakes that Joe Schoen made. So wide receiver becomes a big factor, because especially if they resign Jermaine, Nick, and that will be known before the draft. Because if they give him big money and they have Thomas signed for big money, you're eliminating another position you might draft at tackle, and you're probably never going guard or center that high. At that point, it becomes like, do you take an off-ball linebacker that early, or do you just take the receiver? And I
Yeah.
think the Giants will probably take the receiver.
And I wonder how Wandell figures into all this, because he's a different
Right.
type of asset than a Darius Slayton, obviously. I would say a valuable one, but I don't know his market, and I don't know what the Giants are going to do. And if it's not Joe Shane, how much will they value Wandell Robinson's skills there? Who's the offensive coordinator? Who's calling? There's so many variables that still need to manifest for the New York Giants. It's going to be a busy offseason. It's going to be an exciting offseason. But damn, dude, I can't wait for the actual season to be over, though, because this Giants team is just an eyesore to watch. And we're going to go through the film tomorrow. We're going to bring the film reviews and everything, but this team needs to pull their heads out of their ass and get on the right path, because this has been just absolute beyond mediocrity for a decade plus, other than 2022.
Right. And now one important reason why the Giants, Nick, in my mind, will have to move on from Joe Shane is so they allow a clean slate, a fresh perspective, right? You can't have his past decisions and the sunk cost fallacy of everything that he's about, like, or everything that he believes in, impact their draft decision. I just mentioned it, right? Like, if you see, let's say, I'm not saying we'll think this, but let's say they view Caleb Downs as this game-changing, franchise-altering safety. Joe Shane's retained, he's less likely to make that decision, trade down or not, to draft that player because of what he did. And the same goes for across the board, right? Like, he may not make certain decisions based on the players he's counting on. Darius Slayton, for example. Darius Slayton, they re-signed to a 3-year, $36 million contract. They cannot get out of that contract next year. The cap situation does not allow it. There's too much dead cap tied to it. So if you sign him, I mean, if you plan is to draft a receiver with that first round pick because he's the best player on the board, which again, very well might be in a not so great draft class, it looks like to me so far. Well, then what are you going to do? You're going to re-sign Wandale with Slayton locked in on his contract and Neighbors? It doesn't make sense. The math doesn't math here. And these mistakes that Shane has made, Slayton, Holland, Newman, are really coming back to haunt the Giants in a really disgusting, sad way. I mean, like, what he's done at safety is some of the worst management you've probably seen across the NFL. To go from Julian Love and McKinney on your roster, costing you no assets, just have to re-sign them, to spending a massive contract on Holland, who sucks, honestly, for the contract. Just obviously, like, Shane's like, oh, he was hanging around free agency. We just thought, look at the steal we got. Why do you think he was hanging around free agency, Joe Shane? Because obviously he wasn't as valuable as his reputation suggested that he was, because he stinks. He doesn't make any plays, and he gives up big plays this year, Holland. He's given up more big plays than he's made, which is really sad. And then obviously Tyler Newman, who just weirdly is starting to look like almost a complete bust for us. I feel like a player that you're like, all right, you can start like in the JMS camp, though JMS has actually gotten better and Newman has not. So the bungling of the safety position is just, it's really infuriating.
It is. It's quite infuriating. And look, man, the defense was far from perfect. It was one of the biggest holes I've ever seen on that Jacory Carrasco-Merritt rushing touchdown, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and dude, Cliff Kingsbury does this to the Giants all the time. He stretches you horizontally, and then he tells the running back, find the cutback lanes. This is an undisciplined defense. And that's exactly what happened on that 16-yard scamper. Like Dexter Lawrence, they all got washed down. Abdul Carter went around the tackle, so he didn't go down and restrict that B gap. And then Bobby Okereke was running basically alongside Darius Muasau, like right next to each other. And I've never seen a hole that big before, Pulse, right? Like that's a crazy thing right there. So Giants can't fit backside cuts, man. They just can't. They're very embarrassing when it comes to that. And still though, they forced turnovers in this game. Their third down efficiency, they allowed only 3 third down conversions.
Yeah.
The Giants only had 2 in this game, and then the 2 fourth down ones as well. The Giants were 2 of 12. Washington was 3 of 11. Like, the offenses were just bad, and both of these teams did not have good defenses either. It was just a bout of mediocre football at the end of a season where both of these teams are just waiting for the season to end.
Yes.
And the Giants, look, they made it respectable, but throughout the game, I never felt like, oh, the Giants might win this football. It's like, no, dude, like, you're allowing Marcus Mariota and Washington to do whatever they want, basically. I think at the end of the game, Washington only had like 3.9 yards. What was it? It was like 3.9 yards per carry. But I felt like it was going to be so much more than that, right? Yes. I guess a lot of that was in the second half when the Giants seemed to turn it up a little bit. But man, one thing I wanted to ask you about too, and I don't know what it means, I guess, to evaluate this right now, because there's no way Mike Kafka is going to be back as the head coach. But it does seem like Jackson Dart has regressed in these games, with Mike Kafka being the only voice in his ear without Daboll on the sidelines.
Well, I thought Dart made some really good throws in the second half, right?
I agree. I agree with
that. The Slayton play should have been a touchdown. That was robbed. He was robbed. That would have been 3 touchdown performance. Did he score actually later on that drive? I can't remember.
I don't think so, but I don't know. That throw That throw, it wasn't the best throw. And
It
look,
wasn't
I
the best
want to,
throw, but it
yeah,
dropped right in over the top, and it's
yeah,
like
there's no doubt that he
there are
should have
drops.
scored.
You know me on the drop scale. I'll
Yeah.
do whatever I can to give a receiver a chance, benefit of the doubt, but I don't think. I mean, you dropped right in the breadbasket. I don't know how he dropped that, but I do because he's made those drops throughout his career, unfortunately, Slayton. But he obviously hasn't played as well. I think part of it was also, from what I've heard, because I had a few friends at the game, just an insanely windy first half. Obviously, you saw in the second half, Dart started to make some really good throws, made almost no in the first half. Same thing with Mariota, was making better throws in the second half of the first half. I heard it was incredibly cold and windy, and it looked like Dart was just off target in ways he was never off target this year. So I'm just going to assume that it played a big factor, the wind and the cold in this game. Not an excuse, but it is a reality. It's just across the NFL, you'll see this. But as far as the regression goes, he's certainly not seeing the game as well with Dable. Without Dable, Dable was obviously better for Dart. I think we kind of expected that, right? Like we knew losing Dable, we were going to lose something in that regard. Yet the decision still had to be made to move on from him.
The special teams too, man. It's just how many times can you just allow all?
That's why they lost the game, really. I mean, they gave up, or not the only reason. Dart's interception at the end of the half, they add an extra 3 points, plus that punt return really just ruined the game. It was 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants had, in the final 2 minutes of the first half, the Giants had 2 offensive possessions, and Washington had 2 offensive plays, and they scored 10 points out of it. Like the Giants scored 0. The Giants didn't get any points in that sequence because of that interception, and it's just it just seems like look, we've been talking about it for so long now. It just seems like whenever the offense wants to play well, the defense isn't. When there's no such thing as complimentary football when the defense, and then the special teams just sucked. Like they're just like, we're always going to suck. It's okay. We're going to allow them to start at the 40-yard line. We're going to surrender a punt return touchdown to Jalen Lane, a long kick return. We're going to miss field goals. It's been tragically bad under Michael Gabriel for the last 8 weeks or so.
Yeah, the special teams is collapsing. We were actually doing well on special teams at the beginning of the year. Now it's just, like you said, completely collapsed. Ultimately, the Giants are left with few games left to end the season. A Vikings game, a lot of people thought they would win. I don't think they have any chance in that game, personally. They might get lucky. I mean, the Vikings offense shouldn't be that good, but I don't think the Giants are going to have too much of a chance in that game with the way that the offense looks against that defense. And then the Raiders, which, again, the Giants are likely going to win that game. I think people say, oh, you're ridiculous. You think the Giants are going to win any game? Well, the Raiders are literally even more pathetic than the Giants.
I thought the Giants were going to win this game. I picked it, so I'll take the egg on my face. And it's just is what it is, man. That's a team that was 31. You got beat 31-0 against the Minnesota Vikings, and that was with Jaden Daniels. But you have a backup quarterback. Giants had a bye week. Like there was, I don't want to say momentum going. There wasn't. I don't want to say momentum going the Giants' way, but if Jackson Dart healthy again.
Well, they had been competitive until the end of this year. It made sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And Charlie Bolin had another week to prepare this defense, right? And it didn't really matter.
No, it did not matter at all. The Giants are shot, I think, for this year, and hopefully Jackson Dart can end strong. That's what they're going to be looking for.
If he doesn't, dude, if it's more like ho hum, it's going to make the off-season dialogue intense on Twitter, on X, within the Giants fan base.
Well, it depends where the Giants finish. Yeah, if they
finish last and they have that, and then that's going to lead to some conversations I'm sure we'll be going over in the future if that happens. But again, Jackson Dart, I'm not out on Jackson Dart whatsoever. I don't think he performed terribly in this game. It was a bad first half, but he showed a lot of positive signs during the second half with some of those throws. Like that Theo Johnson throw, and Theo, that was excellent. I like that Kafka went to hey, we're going to dial up a screen to Theo, and we're just going to pepper Daniel Bellinger because they keep just not covering. Just take what the defense is giving you. You don't want to cover our second tight end, 12 personnel on this RPO, and you're just going to crash down the line of scrimmage and keep being undisciplined. We know a thing or two about undisciplined defense, so we're going to take advantage of that. So they kept doing that 3 catches in a row for Daniel Bellinger. And then Daniel Bellinger drew the penalty too in the end zone.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought some of the other takeaways were, we talked about Joe Shane. This is going to be the nail in the coffin. Likely the nail in the coffin for Kafka, though we never really entertained the idea of him potentially being the next Giants head coach. And then Tyrone Tracy, I thought, had a really good game. Obviously, the adjustment to make that touchdown catch was excellent, but I thought he did a good job of stop and start throughout the game. Got some really tough yards in key spots. Just thought he had an overall very strong game for the Giants. Good to see him coming in strong down the stretch run. Makes me feel a little bit more confident about where they're at running back moving forward. Still a position I'd most likely be looking to draft on day 3 in almost every draft class moving forward, including this one. But We'll see, because the Giants don't have as many picks this year because they traded some of their picks away already. So we'll see if they have that luxury to be able to do that. Offensive line, I think, is where I would want to go to next, because I had an interesting conversation with my brother. We've been pretty staunch on this podcast about our opinion that the Giants should pretty much at all costs re-sign Jermaine Illuminor. Illuminor has been not as great down the stretch. Didn't look great in the first half of this game at all. My brother thinks it'd actually be a major mistake to pay him what he's going to want and what he's going to command on the market. Not major mistake, but I think he said it would be a mistake. And I think it's fair to at least open up this discussion again, based on the fact that he is an older player. He is having a slow stretch here toward the end of the season. And more importantly, the market is the market. Like, it doesn't even matter about what he does the rest of the season. He's still going to command top dollar on the free agent market, because that's the desperation the NFL has at the offensive tackle position. If we don't pay it, someone else desperate will.
Absolutely. And you're talking about what, like 25 plus 30,
right?
That's
Matt's point. Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And now I'm not quite there, and I'm hoping that like right now he's going to get a massive upgrade. It all depends on the market, but he's going to get a massive, substantial upgrade over 7 million. And we're talking about to the tune of maybe 20 plus more a year, which is a lot of money, but it really depends on, like, who was the Chiefs player who signed a big deal from the 49ers this past offseason to play for them? Like, I can't remember the tackle's name, but you have a lot of tackles like that getting big money. Will Fries, players like that getting, I think Jermaine Illuminor, now he's going to be, I think, 30. He's like 29 right now, if I'm not mistaken. So he's not a spring chicken, but he's still young enough for offensive line in the offensive line world. So a lot of it's going to depend on that market for me. But I mean, I still want to retain him because I don't have faith that Marcus Bowe is going to be completely ready. And I think if you can have a stable offensive line next season, Jackson Dart's second year with Malik Neighbors, whoever the coach is, whoever's calling plays, I just think that's the environment I want to cultivate for the new regime.
Sure. Will Fries was one of the biggest mistakes of the offseason, too, by the way. He has not been very good with the Vikings and just overpaid because there was nothing else on the market. The same thing will happen with Illuminor. I still remain in your camp, Nick. I think there's a multitude of reasons why they should pay him whatever he costs. One, we're in a salary cap position where we can afford to pay players whatever they want, because we're going to have Dart on a rookie contract and Jones's contract completely off the book starting next year. And ultimately speaking, the Giants don't have that many big contracts signed right now outside of the key ones, Burns, Thomas, Lawrence, etc. With that said, I also believe it's too big of a risk to go into next year and just say, okay, Marcus Bowe, you step in right away, week one starter at right tackle. I'd rather take the risk that Illuminor can continue to play at this level. And all it costs me is some cap space down the line that I'm not too worried about right now.
The one thing I'll say is I don't know if he's going to I just can't imagine he'd make like 27, like around that area. Now, it really would depend on the desperation of some of these teams and the craftiness of some of their front offices to try to land a competent tackle to solidify their offensive line unit, which you can argue that Jermaine Illuminor did that for $7 million a year with the New York Giants, right? So, like, there's going to be teams that are going to be looking at that, but like 27 a year is like around Trent Williams type of money. So if Illuminor were to land something like that, it's going to reshape the entire tackle landscape. So I have to imagine it's going to be a little bit less than that. And it's also interesting to think, well, teams want to give him the opportunity to play left tackle because he has that in his arsenal. That's going to lead to slightly more money than right tackle, which I think Lane Johnson is one of the top tackles paid on the right side, but that's around like 25 a year. I think there's like one or two guys who get paid a little bit more than that, though.
And that's the key, too, because it's not just the desperation NFL teams will have at right tackle. They'll have any team with desperation at left tackle is going to have to do the same thing, offer him a major contract. It's just like, that's how it goes. Like, it's a position, it's like quarterback. If you don't have it and you're heading into the draft with a bad draft pick, or you don't have any tackles you believe at your draft pick can start right away, you may ruin your whole season. So one way to avoid that is to overpay on the market. So if the Giants don't do it, someone else will. I think AFC 52353 says Jermaine Illuminor is 31. Yeah, he's an older player. I just don't think the Giants have the luxury to let him walk, despite it looking likely that it won't be a contract that we look back on like that was a steal or that was even a deal. It's probably more likely we don't like the contract at the back end. But as long as they can get him for like 3 years, I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it depends on a lot of those variables, man. But yeah, that's something. I mean, the Giants have let pretty solid offensive linemen walk in the, I don't want to say the recent past, but somewhat, like Kevin Zeitler. And that was one who was an older player. Right. You were a big advocate to keep him. We wanted to keep him on the podcast. They ended up letting him go. And he's still, I don't know if he's still playing at a high level,
even
but he was
stupider. They didn't even let him go. They just cut him. It's not even like he was a free agent. It was a bad Gettleman move.
Bad Gettleman moves. But yeah, man, this is another bleak season. Dan Schneier and Nick Falato sitting here talking
Yep.
about the New York Giants lost year, picking high in the draft, having fun with the guys in the chat. Always a good time with the ladies and gentlemen in the chat, though.
Seems like the defense too is just so far away. I don't even know where they're going to go this offseason.
Well,
They've burned their bridges at safety. They just have to hope those guys get better.
I'm glad you brought this up. I do think that from a personnel standpoint, there is a long way. Linebacker and safety are the two that I'm concerned about. And also, you got to make
corner doesn't feel good either.
It doesn't feel great. I think Flott and Adebo, I don't think that's a terrible starting tandem, but you would like to upgrade over that and have Flott be like your third cornerback. Yeah. But like I'm fine with Flott. I think Flott has shown enough this year. If the Giants do decide to pay him, we'll have to wait and see. But a different defensive structure, I think, would go a long way as well. Because Charlie Bolin, look, he's changing a few things up, trying to be aggressive. At least he did when we reviewed the all-22 of the Patriots game. I want to watch the all-22 to see exactly what they were doing against Cliff Kingsbury, but Kingsbury was also calling a game to not put Marcus Mariota into compromising situations, just relying a lot on the run and the play action and hitting the Giants in the soft spots. And the Giants coverage did a solid job up until Dane Belton got cooked by Terry McLaurin, right? But it's still Shane Bowen's system, right? So I want like a different system to see if, like, I don't know if Dexter Lawrence is cooked as a player. I didn't really hear his name that much in this. Let me rephrase that. I don't think he's cooked as a player, right? We don't hear his name all that often this year. But I think in a different system with different usage, different terminology, all this kind of stuff, I think you can see a Dexter Lawrence that is more akin to what we have seen from Dexter Lawrence in the past. I don't think this fits him all that well. I don't. Yeah. And I think I can say that about a lot of guys. But to the points of like John May and the comments like Bobby Okereke, guys like that, like, I don't know how much you can rely on that guy. Like, right. I wish we had Micah McFadden still on this team so we could evaluate him, and maybe that would help. I think that would certainly help out the run defense because I think Micah was a little bit more disciplined, especially as he progressed in his development from a young player to being more of a veteran. But yeah, I do think the structure will at least help some of the key personnel the Giants have had that have not played well this season.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, but I'm past the point of thinking that a change at coach is going to be the fix for this defense. I think they're in a really bad spot from personnel standpoint. I don't know how they got to this position. They spent a lot of money, man. Adebo and Holland, you can't pay that kind of money and get the production you're getting out of those two players. You have to hope that a scheme change will turn those players around. But the reality is when you go to free agency, this is what you get sometimes. There's a reason these guys are in free agency. It's because the teams didn't want to re-sign them. The only reason they wouldn't re-sign them is because they're not slam dunks. Every player that's a slam dunk will be re-signed by the franchise that drafts them. And when you go to free agency, maybe one of every 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the big free agency plays will work out how you want them to, or to a value, because there's something wrong with every one of them. Even we knew it, man. We watched Adebo. He wasn't a shutdown corner. We had to kind of pay him sort of like one because there's nothing else, but he wasn't a shutdown corner. And Holland had a good start with Miami, fizzled out. I mean, that's not great. I mean, you know what I mean? And like that at linebacker, we can bank on maybe McFadden will be back next year. They re-sign him cheap. I don't want to just bank on him, man. They need to revamp the entire linebacker core. That's scary because I don't really know where to do that or how to do that, given that they need to use their assets, the limited that they have, without a day 2 pick because of the dart trade on other positions.
No, 100%, man. They need speed. They need speed. They need aggressive. They need physicality at the linebacker spot. That's definitely something that needs to be upgraded. And I just don't know exactly what image the Giants are going to create for their defense, whoever their defensive coordinator is. We don't even know, right? But I do hope it's a little bit more imaginative than what we've seen. And still, the personnel needs more investment, more money, more investment, which is crazy after the offseason the Giants just had.
I know. Shane was allowed to spend crazy, and it was a really bad spending spree. I mean, the Giants really haven't had a good spending spree since Jerry Reese's 2016, where he got Vernon and those 3 guys on defense that like turned our defense around.
Norris.
Damon, Vernon, Janoris, and one more. Yeah, and Snacks.
And JPP were signed, I think, that year too.
Yeah, but just from the free agent standpoint. And since then, it's really been pretty disappointing in free agency. They had 2 great classes, that one and Jerry Reese's 2005 class. Other than that, like, free agency tends to be a bust for NFL franchises. Gettleman's worked for a little with Bradbury, and I forgot who else he got in that one. But
Blake Martinez.
Yeah, that fizzled out fast though. So yeah, I don't feel like we need to overspend in free agency, but if there are random great guys that hit, like because teams are in bad cap spots, like if Linderbaum hits because they're in a bad cap spot, the Ravens, go ahead. Make that move. I'm okay spending there. Same thing goes for Quay Walker and Leo Chanel, who might be on teams that can't afford to re-sign them.
Yeah, Quay Walker now. He got some disciplinary problems, but he
Yeah.
is the exact type of linebacker that you want when
Oh
it
yeah.
comes to just speed, physicality, sideline to sideline range. Isn't really a liability in coverage. Like that'd be what we were looking for. But still a long ways to go until we get to free agency and the draft. But as for this game, man, week 15, just what the hell, man? So many there's even like mistakes like Javon Holland is your punt returner, really?
Yeah.
Like you have two guys on your practice squad that you could have brought up, and Amir Smith-Marset and Xavier Gibson. They're both on there just for their return ability. And Gunnar Olszewski does not pass through the concussion protocol. So you just go, okay, put Javon Holland back there. She's like, oh my gosh, okay.
Yep.
It's like, of course, man, because like the Giants have botched that decision making just as much as they've botched the whole kicking situation as well. Like the special teams, just an absolute nightmare.
Yep. Agreed. Want to get some supers?
Let's get to some soups. All righty. David Goodman, what's up, bro? Says this
Thank
game
you.
showed you, yes, and thank you. This game showed you can't ignore wide. This is what we were talking about in the chat too. Wide receiver. Slayton's drops matter. Doesn't matter if you get open, if you can't catch. He killed 2 second-half drives.
Yeah, and the Giants are in a tough spot since they just re-signed and paid him. He's going to be a part of the offense next year. It'll all kind of depend on if they re-sign Wandale or not, I think, as far as what the offense looks like from a passing standpoint. But yeah, you can't ignore receiver. We don't ever say to do that. We just say to prioritize building the offensive line before wide receiver.
Day Spurs, thank you so much. Let's appreciate you guys. Here's to better days ahead. Yeah. Thank you. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah,
and we
you.
hope that those better days actually
yeah, we've been saying that for like 4 years now.
Yeah, it's like the skeleton meme, bro. We're gonna be like that skeleton meme, where we're just
Crazy.
two sitting there. All right.
I never thought Shane would be this bad when they hired him, man. I thought
Nah.
I didn't necessarily think he was going to be the savior, but I thought he would just do a much better job.
Yeah. Yeah. We were led to believe that, especially at the 2022. But yeah, peaked early. VT Jake 3761 said, sorry, tension side. Yeah, no sweat, bro. Says this team is dog crap. Same story year over year, and next year it'll be the same. I don't care about the head coach, GM, whatever. Hope I wear egg on my face or always my number one morning routine. New York Giants.
I appreciate that. Thank you, VJ Take. Yeah, as far as not caring about head coach or GM, I don't really blame you for that or hate that because we've cared a lot about it. We've wanted to get our guys. We hype up certain guys, and they don't always work out, right? Brian Daboll had a lot of hype coming in here. So did Joe Shane. They didn't work out. We found a way really to talk ourselves into every single GM and head coach we've hired in the past. It's going to happen, and it may not happen as we expect. Like, I don't think.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I think Shane and Daboll had more hype than most of the others, though.
Because, yeah, for sure.
Coming from Josh out, coming from Buffalo, it's outside the organization. Because Dave Gettleman, when the Giants hired Dave Gettleman, it was prior to us doing the podcast. But I was covering football at the time for Inside the Pylon, and I was like, hire Dave Gettleman, really? Like, and the guy's making fun of analytics. I'm like, really? This is like where the path the New York Giants are going down at this point. And like Joe Judge was. We liked a lot of his rhetoric, and I think he presented himself well in front of the camera until he didn't. But like we were like, they're hiring this guy, Joe. Who the hell's Joe Judge? Like that was kind of like what we were all like when the Giants made the decision to hire him. And then Pat Shurmur was the guy prior to that. So that's a retread from the Browns. And I don't think a lot of people were too excited when the Giants hired Pat Shurmur, but Daboll was different. Daboll was certainly different. And same results though. It just
Daboll was that. You're right. Like that was the first time the fans got what they wanted, essentially. But even that didn't work out. Is kind of my point. We don't know when it will work out, when it won't. I find a way to talk myself into anyone. I talked myself into Gettleman because I thought he talked a good game about how he wants to rebuild the O-line. He never did it, but he talked about it. He never did a good job of it. He tried to, but was an epic failure when it came to that. And obviously, as I went through it, you adjust your opinion, and I learned how bad he was. And the same thing has gone for Shane, right? I liked him at first. I've adjusted my opinion. I don't think he's done a good job. And it's just amazing how many mistakes he's really made. Like he just shouldn't be the leash that he's been given. It's too big of a leash.
It is too long of a leash at this point. I think he knows. And I think after a game like this, and then dude, the Vikings next week, come on, like at defense.
Oh yeah. The Giants are going to have trouble.
Giants are certainly going to have trouble. All right, let's get to more super chats. AFC 5253, thank you so much, Bud. Says, Dart was fine. Seems to force the deep ball when trying to score late. We saw that at Ole Miss. I found myself not wanting them to win. I was in the minority about Daboll. Didn't like it for Dart.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right about that. He did have similar issues at Ole Miss when they were forcing at the end of games. The Florida game tape
The
obviously
Florida
comes
game,
to
yeah.
mind. People will always talk about that, and it's fine. It's true. Yeah, and he's gonna have to work on like as me and my brother talked about after the game. I'm sure you see it, Nick, all the time when we watch the tape and just broadcast. You can see it. He's got to work on his footwork. His footwork is not good. Like it gets away with it a lot, but his footwork is not good for an NFL starting quarterback, and that will have to be improved to get the deep game to anywhere near where we need to get it to even just drive the football. And he does have some drive throws. Like it's not like he can't do it. I put it out a couple weeks ago, like 8 examples of him setting his feet, pointing the left foot to the target and driving the football. So he can do it. He just has to make it every snap. He has to really ingrain it in his routine, and he'll work on it. As far as yourself, I don't know how much of a minority you're in, to be honest. Like I didn't want them to win. My brother didn't want them to win. My dad didn't want them to win. To be honest, we can lie to you, and I know some people hate this. Oh, you have to root for them to win every single
Uh,
game. No, I don't. I
I think
don't.
his minority comment is more about the fire, like that he didn't like, or I was in the minority about
Oh,
Dable. I think,
about Dable getting
yeah,
fired.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he had to get fired, right? Like he's not. We couldn't bring him back for next year.
yeah. I think he just meant like mid-season, but
Okay,
I'm not sure. AFC 525,
because it was
clarify
bad
in the
for. Oh,
comments.
because he's
Yeah.
saying because it was bad for Dart. Is that why?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's a good take then, probably.
Yeah. Isser, thank you so much. Bud said, so hard to watch the Giants compared to other teams like the
Yeah.
Rams and Detroit. We just look like we are in, another world size.
Yep.
Like us and the Jets. I don't know what's in the water here in New York and Northern Jersey, but it's just not working out
I mean, dude,
because
through week 15, the Giants in back-to-back years, Nick, are 4-24. Like
yeah.
we've literally watched them lose every game except for 4 of our last 30-something games.
Yeah, man. It's tough.
It's crazy. How is that even possible?
It's tough, man. Dylan Manning, thank you. Says, here's a little Christmas bonus for the best Giants pod out there. We
Thank you, Dylan.
appreciate that,
You.
Dylan. All the best to you and your families. Let's go Big Blue. Thanks for all you do.
Appreciate
Yes,
that.
we really do appreciate that. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Bud says, maybe Giants bought Abdul Carter a sleep number bed for Christmas. Looks like maybe he finally got enough sleep to play a decent game. Yes,
More than decent. He played a phenomenal game.
He did play a phenomenal game, but still, I love how Isser comes in with the clever comments. But yeah, maybe that's the case, bud. And he also says Hyatt made a play. Sadly, it was a tackle after he didn't fight for the catch. Again, how does he still get? I don't know how he still gets on the football field, and that is like
definitely hard to figure out.
A shame at this point, though, right? Because when Dart threw that interception, and you couldn't really see what was going on. To me, it looked like Dart got a little bit too over aggressive in that situation. Sanders still made a good play on the football,
Agreed.
but also the one receiver who's not going to be able to finish that route and finish the play on this roster, who is dressed for some odd reason, even though the Giants don't have a punt returner up, is Jalen Hyatt, and they try to put him out there to justify that. And I don't want to blame him per se, but it looks like he didn't do maybe as much as he could have to ensure that didn't end up the way it did.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, thank you so much for the donation. Says, thanks for getting us through a rough season as per usual, men. At least Abdul looked good today. One day, this team won't be a joke. One day.
I hope so, man. It's been so long of this.
Absolutely. And we really do appreciate
It's crazy that they've managed to not only become a joke, but like the year where their rookie came into this game with an 18-3 touchdown to interception ratio. I know some of those are obviously on the ground, but still, it's 18 touchdowns he produced to just 3 interceptions. There was no hope for this game and no interest in this game. Like that's the craziest part, Nick. Like the stadium was emptier than it's ever been. Despite the fact that we've had seasons where it's like Daniel Jones or like a quarterback that was obviously not a big part of their future plans, or at least shouldn't have been. Sorry, obviously whatever happened over there, the Achilles, whatever it is, like feel bad for him. Obviously he was great with the Colts, but here he was not working. Like there should have been some hype and hope to go to this game for fans. Like that's how bad of a situation Joe Schoen and the Giants organization has put together for their fan base. Like there was no hope to go to this game. It was an empty stadium. It was more empty than it's ever been. And there's no, like, we're going to get, I'll just be honest, Nick, and you know this, and not being honest with you, like we're going to get worse numbers on these podcasts than we've ever gotten, really, it feels like. But that makes no sense. We have Dart. Like it just shouldn't, like, it's just crazy how even the Giants can ruin a rookie quarterback who's playing good football. Yes. It's just insane.
Yes, I don't know what the Giants couldn't ruin at this point.
But it's just crazy, man. Like I understand the years where we have no hope at quarterback. We're supposed to have hope right now.
Yeah, hopefully
feels like there's none.
Yeah, no, it does feel like there's none. But here's to brighter days, ladies and gentlemen. Isser also says next coach fired will be special teams, maybe over a seating issue in the cafeteria. Worst pair of kickers in the NFL, Koo and whoever punted.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yes,
have really bad special teams.
that's for sure. Chalk 89, thank you so much. Let's tear it down to its studs. The defense has too many career
Yep.
losers, and that cannot be good for incoming players. Let the new general manager put his stamp on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. The Patriots did that, right? Like they came in, they traded Duggar this year. They traded what's his name in the offseason. They traded 2 big pieces of their defense that were paid because they wanted to get players in who bought into their culture and played a certain way and fit their scheme. That may end up happening with the Giants, honestly. We may start to see some players traded for pennies on the dollar just to revamp I don't know if I want that to happen because you can't trade Holland. No one wants that contract. Can't trade a Debo, no one's that. So it would have to be guys like Dex and stuff, which I don't want them to trade, or Kayvon. So
who would have thought
they're
they
not
would receive a fully healthy Dexter Lawrence, and he would just you just never really see him or hear
well, I
from
don't
him.
think he's fully healthy. I think that's part of it.
Well,
but,
what I mean by fully healthy is he's not missing the season on.
Right.
I mean, at this point of the season, there's not a lot of players who are fully
true,
healthy.
true.
But I think you are right, and that's a good
No,
that's a
but
good.
you're right though about what you said. Like the whole like what we projected for the D line, like it's kind of doesn't make sense how they could have Lawrence, Burns, Carter, and Thibodeau, and Lawrence can be taken out of games. It doesn't even if you're double teaming him, then we should be seeing dominance across the board from our guy. Like that's what you expect. Like other defensive lines throughout NFL history have had that kind of talent, have been able to produce like that. But the Giants are just not playing up to their talent level.
No, they're not playing up to their talent level, and they're atrocious when it comes to missed tackles. They don't finish plays. There's so much wrong with this team. Trenton Wright, thank you so much. Said Eagles fan here. Love the show though. Opinion on Hurts.
Oh,
Trenton,
you don't want to
so
know my
much.
opinion on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Dan, you have watched more Eagles game than I have when it comes to Jalen Hurts for Beyond the Box Score. Is excellent show. Please, everybody, go check that out. It's on the CBS Fantasy Sports Network.
Yeah,
is that what it is? Yeah,
it's on Fantasy Football Today.
Fantasy Football Today with Jacob Gibbs. Excellent show. So I don't want to just give you the floor just because of that to throw this hot potato on you, but yes, take it away if you have any opinions on Jalen Hurts.
Well, I've always said like I don't hate Jalen Hurts at all. The whole point of contention with me and Heath, who also works for CBS, is I don't think he's one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
I would agree with that.
Like, how could you not say he's an elite quarterback in the NFL? He won the Super Bowl and he does this and this and this. I think he's a great big game quarterback. I think he's got a little Eli Manning in him when it comes to big moments. He plays his best football. I think that's very important when it comes to Hurts. But you can't, like, you could see it this year. Like, it's not just Patullo. This is the second time they've had an offensive coordinator who gets killed by the fan base because he can't scheme around this guy's limitations as a quarterback. I think that's pretty obvious. And it's the first year he's dealt with injuries on his O-line and a run game that was a little subpar. And he can't really move the ball in the middle of the field. He can't really, he can throw over the top, and he makes big plays on the run with his arms and his leg. He's a good quarterback in the NFL. He's like Bo Nix to me, Jalen Hurts, just a better version of Bo Nix.
I think you summarized that well. And I agree with basically everything you said there. Yeah. AFC 5-2. And as for my opinions on Hurts, just it's really the throwing over the middle of the field that he seems to struggle with, which limits him to outside the numbers throws and relying on those 50-50 balls, which players like Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, when you have guys like that on your team, that's not a terrible approach, but that's best maximized when you can run the football to set up the play action and when the RPO game is going and when he's using his legs, and it just has not all come together yet for that Eagles offense. But despite that, the Eagles are in the lead of the NFC East.
Yeah,
and
their defense
they're sitting content, ready for the playoffs, and the Giants have 2 wins, So that's the predicament overall from the two franchises and the difference there. And Howie Roseman, I have the utmost respect for Howie Roseman and how he conducts himself as a general manager. I can only hope that whoever the Giants hire, once they can, Joe Shane could be half of what Howie Roseman is.
Yeah.
AFC 5-2, 5-3. Thank you so much. Bud said they ruined it because they fired the guy who was the reason they drafted him. Speaking of Dart and Dable, obviously. I know he is not a great coach, but it was dumb to fire him than just to appease some fans and the media. This was a follow-up. Wthank you so much, AFC 5-2, 5-3. And look, I think that's that has a lot of merit, that argument. And it's something that look, we were all, I don't want to say excited that Dable got fired, but we just understood that it was coming. And maybe if you wanted to give Kafka the trial run, now that the Kafka trial run has fallen flat on its face, which I think a lot of us expected anyways, it's like, yeah, I hope this actually has not stunted the growth of Jackson Dart. It does seem like, as I said at the top of the show, that Dable and Dart, that connection seemed to just, and this could be, circumstance. It's not like there isn't a ton of evidence to support that he can't operate under Kafka, but this was a game where you expected the offense to move, and for the entire first half, it was non-existent. So I
Totally
can
fair.
understand why. Yeah.
Yep.
And Isser, thank you so much. Says, how are you feeling about Theo? Seems on the up. Yeah. Theo Johnson, that was a beautiful 45-yard catch down the field. I love the screen. He really held up Jacob Martin just long enough, discarded, caught the football, ran 25 yards. But he only finished with like 3 catches for, I think it was like 74 yards.
75, yeah.
75 yards.
Maybe 74. Yeah.
For targets. But look, I would like for him to be more involved, but I say that, and then he does Theo Johnson type shit. It's just some of these, like, look, he has one bad game in the last like 5. So we've received a lot of quality snaps from Theo Johnson, and I'm hoping that just continues, because damn, do the Giants need any kind of positive spark from any of their young players that the next coaching staff can ride into the next season, and hopefully the Giants can actually have a respectable offense under Jackson Dart. And I want that rapport to continue to grow too. I mean,
Same.
Vilma and the announcers were talking about, oh, they're best friends on the field and off the field. It's like, yeah, it's great. Let's score some touchdowns and try to win some games. But yeah, Isser also says Kafka looked bad and Hard Knocks.
Yeah, people went about that this week. I think, it's not worth even discussing. Kafka's not going to be the Giants head coach next year.
Nah, there's no shot. But can he be the offensive coordinator? I still don't.
No, I think they're going to clean house completely with this staff. They have to.
They might, man. They might.
They have to.
Jared Barton 936. Thank you so much.
Priscillo, I hope they retain him.
So do I, man. I found myself rooting hard for the Commanders in the 4th. Just no point of winning. I got nothing else. Draft content can't come soon enough, fellas. Yeah, well, it will. I mean, like, we have to do the coaching search and all that, but we'll be pumping out draft content at some point. And Dan and I are both excited about that. I mean, it's right around the corner, right? And then Analysis 1957 says December 28th, the first pick bowl.
Yeah, Giants Raiders could very well decide the first pick in the NFL draft.
I think so.
Yeah. So
that's all of our soups.
Yeah, depends. Obviously, you can root however you'd like in that game. I'll be rooting for the Giants to an extent. To an extent, I hope they do lose the game, though. I'll just be honest. I'd rather have the first pick than a meaningless win in the end of the season. We've gone through this too much. Like, for me to even consider the other side, Nick, it's been too much, man. There's been too many examples over the years. So it is what it is. But
it's funny. Jonathan just said, I guess Cowboys just tried a fake field goal and it worked. I don't know if it worked for like a touchdown or whatever it worked for, but
you already threw a pick.
It's just so funny that, like, here we are talking about our special teams and how much they suck, and then the Cowboys are going out there doing fake field goals with the best kicker who can nail like a 70-yard field goal anyways. It's just like, oh, of course, yeah. Just rub the salt in our wounds, why don't you?
Yep, pretty much. It's pretty much where we're at right now. Thank you to everybody who's still tuning in. Really appreciate your support in a season like this. It's so hard to do. I can only imagine. So thank you for this. Continue to support us. Join the chat PCC. That's where you can get to us. I got to do a better job of being more active. I was active at the beginning, but life is, I got stuff going on, so I will do my best, but stuff is starting to slow down with the Giants, obviously being less interesting to talk about. So we'll continue to do what we do here, trudge forward with what we have left of the season, do some tape tomorrow for those of you who are still interested in that, and look forward. Because obviously, once we get to it, there's going to be a head coaching search. There's likely going to be a GM search. There's going to be a lot to talk about, as it usually is for the Giants. As always, our offseason is our Super Bowl. That's how it's been for the last 5 years and pretty much the entire time of Nick and I doing this show, with the exception of one season. So better days are hopefully ahead. We can only hope at this point. I don't know what else to say. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk to you soon.